Hi everyone, I am Dr. Shahan and today in this video I will teach you about Burkitt lymphoma. Now why I have chosen Burkitt lymphoma? Burkitt lymphoma is a very important topic for NEET PG, FMGE and INICET examination. So if you are preparing for any of this examination, Burkitt lymphoma is examiner's hot topic, hot choice. So look at this picture. You can see an African child. They will always give this picture only because they have this picture in their database. So look at this picture. African child with a jaw swelling. African child with a jaw swelling and cervical lymphadenopathy. What do you mean by cervical lymphadenopathy? That is in the neck you can get swollen lymph node and jaw swelling. Remember, African child, they will give a picture of African child with jaw swelling. That is Burkitt lymphoma. Now let us learn about Burkitt lymphoma. Burkitt lymphoma. What is Burkitt lymphoma? You can remember Burkitt lymphoma is a uncommon type of non-Hodgkin type of lymphoma. It is not a Hodgkin type. It is non-Hodgkin type of lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Remember, it is a uncommon type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin, very important. Burkitt lymphoma is a type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma and it is uncommon also. Burkitt lymphoma commonly affects the children. So whenever the case will be there, it will be an African child. Either they will give you a picture of the African child or they will give you a picture of a child. Basically they will show you the African child picture with a jaw swelling, cervical lymphadenopathy. They may also describe the picture. So remember, Burkitt lymphoma, which cell is affected? Basically highly aggressive type of B cell lymphoma. It is a kind of B cell lymphoma. So B for Burkitt, B for B cell lymphoma. Remember, B for Burkitt, B for B cell lymphoma. Start and involves body parts also. Look at this picture. This is the pathology picture. How it looks. Basically, you can see the blue cells. These blue cells is basically representing the sky. Basically, it representing the sky. And you have the white color stars. So it is starry sky appearance. Starry sky appearance. That means stars in the blue sky. Stars, white stars in the blue sky. And what is this sky? Basically the blue color, lot of blue color cells. These lot of blue color cells, the sky actually are the tumor cells. The sky is the tumor cells. Do not get confused. Write down the sky as the tumor cells. So they may give you options. Sky represent the tumor cells and the stars represent the macrophages. The white color, can you see the white color stars? They are the macrophages. So do not get confused. The sky are the tumor cells, the blue color cells, which are lot in number, and the stars, which are just like twinkling here in the sky, that is starry sky appearance, and the star is the macrophages. The white color star, that is the macrophages. So remember this starry sky appearance in the pathology. They may show you this picture also. Starry sky appearance that can be found in Burkitt lymphoma. Now what are the types of Burkitt lymphoma? There are basically three types of Burkitt lymphoma. How many types? Three types of Burkitt lymphoma. Number one is the African one. That is the African Burkitt lymphoma, which I already showed you. In Africa, it is endemic. So it is endemic Burkitt lymphoma. Second is sporadic. Sporadic is non-endemic. Which is not endemic, that is sporadic. Burkitt lymphoma. And the third one is HIV associated Burkitt lymphoma. Third one is the HIV associated Burkitt lymphoma. That Burkitt lymphoma which can be found in immunocompromised patient. That Burkitt lymphoma that can be found in HIV patient. That is HIV associated immunocompromised patient associated Burkitt lymphoma. So three types. One is that of the Africa. One is type of Africa. That is in the Africa. That is endemic Burkitt lymphoma. The second is sporadic and third third one HIV associated. Now let us learn about the endemic Burkitt lymphoma. Let us learn about the endemic Burkitt lymphoma. I told you endemic, where it is endemic, where Burkitt lymphoma is endemic, in the Africa. You can see the African child, always they give you the picture of African child with the jaw swelling. So endemic Burkitt lymphoma that can be found in the equatorial Africa. About half of all childhood cancers, there are Burkitt lymphoma. Basically, which virus is associated with this endemic type of Burkitt lymphoma in Africa? Which virus is associated? Which virus? Name the virus. They always ask you in the exam. Which virus is associated with the African child? They give you the picture of the African child and jaw swelling. The virus is Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus. Remember, EBV, Epstein-Barr virus. So they will give you the picture of the jawbone and they will also ask you this is caused by Epstein-Barr virus. Remember. Next is sporadic. Next type is sporadic Burkitt lymphoma. Next is sporadic Burkitt lymphoma. What do you mean by sporadic? That means it is not endemic. It is not endemic African. It is not African. It is not endemic. In Africa it is endemic. That is not sporadic. Sporadic is different. So sporadic Burkitt lymphoma, basically more than the involvement of the lymph nodes, you can find the involvement of the, where you can find the involvement? Abdomen. In sporadic, basically you can find the abdominal involvement. Abdomen will be involvement. 90% of the children, they have the abdominal involvement. The lymph node involvement is generally not seen. Another thing that can be seen in sporadic Burkitt lymphoma is a bone marrow involvement. Bone marrow involved more than that in the endemic variety. In endemic variety also sometimes bone marrow may be affected, but bone marrow is mostly affected in sporadic variety. And jaw involvement is extremely rare. You cannot find jaw involvement in sporadic variety. Where can we find the jaw involvement? Do you remember? The endemic African variety, we got the jaw involvement. Now the last type of Burkitt lymphoma, that is immunodeficiency associated Burkitt lymphoma. I already told you, immunodeficient patient like the HIV patient, they are immunodeficiency. They are having the immunodeficiency associated Burkitt lymphoma. Immunodeficiency associated Burkitt lymphoma is the third type of Burkitt lymphoma, which is known as HIV associated Burkitt lymphoma. It can be found in settings of post-transplant patient. Suppose a transplant has taken place in the patient. After the transplant, you can find the patient is taking the immunosuppressive drug and the patient is having the Burkitt lymphoma. So that type of Burkitt lymphoma where the patient is taking immunosuppressive drug, the patient is suffering from HIV, the patient is immunodeficient, that kind of HIV, that type of Burkitt lymphoma is known as immunodeficiency associated Burkitt lymphoma, AIDS associated. Now where do you get the name Burkitt lymphoma? Where the Burkitt word came? Burkitt actually it came from a scientist. The name of the scientist. What is the name of the scientist? The name of the scientist is Dennis Person Burkitt. Dennis Person Burkitt. They may ask you the name of the scientist also. The name of the scientist is Dennis Person Burkitt. He was a surgeon. Who first described this disease in 1956. In 1956, he was a surgeon, and he was working where? He was working in Africa, equatorial Africa. This surgeon, Dennis Person Burkitt, he was working in equatorial Africa in 1956, and he was a surgeon. He actually described this disease, and this disease was named after him, Burkitt lymphoma. Basically, Burkitt lymphoma is also known as Burkitt tumor. It is known as Burkitt tumor, malignant lymphoma, Burkitt's type. Remember, it is a B lymphocyte affected lymphoma. Remember which lymphocyte is affected? B for Burkitt, B for B cell. Remember, B for Burkitt, B for B cell. And it is an uncommon type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Remember, non-Hodgkin. They always ask you non-Hodgkin type of lymphoma. Another thing which is very, very important, they also ask you in the NEET PG and FMGE examination, basically the c-MYC gene is associated, c-MYC gene associated with the Burkitt lymphoma. What happens to the c-MYC gene? c-MYC gene translocation happens. c-MYC gene translocation happens and you get the Burkitt lymphoma So c-MYC gene, c-MYC, they will ask you which gene associated. They will ask you the gene is c-MYC gene, very important. And most common variant that can be found is 8-14 translocation. They will always give you 8-14. So the mnemonic is as 8 looks like B, as 8 look like B, so it is Burkitt lymphoma. 8-14 translocation, 8-14 translocation, 8 looks like B, 8 looks like B. Remember 8-14 translocation, they always give you 8-14 translocation. But there is another variety, that is 8-22 variant. 8-22, either they will give you in the question 8-14 or 8-22, 8-14 or 8-22, 8, that is Burkitt lymphoma. This is the end of this video. Always remember Burkitt lymphoma important points. I am repeating once again. Look at this picture. This is the African child. They will always give you African child with a jaw swelling, cervical lymphadenopathy. That is Burkitt lymphoma. c-MYC mutation, c-MYC. 8-14 translocation, 8 is very important. 8 looks like B, so it is Burkitt lymphoma. Basically they will give you the endemic variety, the African variety of the Burkitt lymphoma. And Burkitt lymphoma is non-Hodgkin. Remember, non-Hodgkin type, non-Hodgkin uncommon type Burkitt lymphoma. So it is associated with the c-MYC gene mutation. Remember c-MYC, and always remember the B cell lymphocytes are affected. B for Burkitt, B for B cells. So all these are potential question. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, make a thumbs up and please subscribe this channel. This channel contains so many medical videos free of cost. You can watch it and you can prepare for NEET PG, FMGE and also next examination. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.